You can see there's tree branches that they've been cutting down and laying down on the ground to sleep on. And this is our first homeless camp here in the Jacksonville area, in the nice suburban part of Jacksonville. This isn't the bad parts. So if you've been listening to your realtors talk about Jacksonville area is a good place to live, well, they forgot to mention this. See the shopping carts, clothing, and there are motels around here, and most of the motels around here are rated very low because they have a huge presence of bed bugs. So we can assume that the stuff the homeless people are dragging out of the hotels to put out here are also going to have, well, the same problem. The hotels in this area are really badly rated, and a lot of the complaints, like I said, are bed bugs. So we expect this homeless camp to have a lot of bed bugs. There's our first actual tent right here. I don't know if there's somebody here or not, but let's see if we can talk to somebody. There is coming through. Anybody here? I'm gonna guess these homeless camps are gonna be extraordinarily dangerous and hostile. But as you can see here, nobody here right now. This is pretty nasty. You've got a smell that's defiling. First of all, you have a mattress. They've laid their tent on top of a mattress. That's pretty clever. What's not clever is just the amount of smell. This is definitely a very nasty sight. The litter and the filth in here, it's just incredible. It's overwhelming, really. The smell is horrendous. I mean, it's a really bad smell. And, well, again, this is not the bad part of Jacksonville. This is what's behind the house you're going to buy in Jacksonville when you move to a suburban part of Jacksonville. So as you can see, it didn't take much for us to come into our first camp. And there's nobody here right now, but it didn't take long to find it. We're going to venture deeper into these woods and see if we can run into more camps. And there are people that live here out by the major intersection up front, and they're just simply, begging or whatever. You can see here how they've kind of made a roadblock, almost ensuring that nobody comes back here. They cut the tree down with a machete and kind of put garbage here as a way of telling you, hey, don't come back here. It is starting to rain. On a cool day like today, we might run into more homeless people in the camps, as usually when it's hot, they go on gas stations and stores. But on a day like today where it's nice and cool, people might just want to hang out back here. So I can see camps in all directions, so let's just pick one and see what we run into out here. Sounds a very creepy vibe. There's actually a tent right there, and I can see more stuff over that way. This place has a really eerie vibe. And this is pretty much what all the wooded areas, what I've found so far in Jacksonville, is that any wooded area in Jacksonville pretty much looks like this. And there's a lot of wooded areas in Jacksonville. So, let's keep crawling through here. This has a very creepy vibe. I don't know why, it just does. And again, a lot of these homeless people are mentally unstable. They could be armed, dangerous. Well, they are armed because they got machetes, obviously, if they're cutting trees. So this work could actually turn really dangerous. There's actually a surveyor that was taken here on the east coast of Florida by a homeless person and forced to get naked at machete point to take his clothing. So the homeless person's just wanted to steal the guy's clothes. So if even your clothes is enough to get you right out here, imagine me with phone, GoPro, and camo clothes, which is perfect for this type of place. You could definitely set yourself up for trouble out here. This looks like an older camp that's no longer in function. You gotta be careful walking through here because there could be nails sticking up on the ground, anything really. But here's an abandoned camp. As usual, there's always very expensive shoes in these homeless camps. Not sure why, but if anybody has an explanation, I'd love to hear it. Here we have a few more encampments, and we can see a tent right over there. So we're gonna see if we can approach this site carefully. Pair of work boots. Let alone the fact, what I'm wearing right now is this outfit right here, so for a few $100. at a Bass Pro Shop, and it's the type of outfit somebody living out here would want. So, I mean, there's even cases in Florida where homeless people will rob somebody just to take their clothes. So it's dangerous, but we have to do this work. I think it's important for people to know what's really happening in Florida. You have an older tent here. You have a truck bed, some garbage, and here's a tent that looks like it's definitely active. You can just tell when there's somebody here, and there's definitely somebody here. Coming through, coming through. Just coming through. Coming through. It's important to announce that you're here. If they think you're trying to sneak up on them or rob them or something, they could be defensive as well. So I've had a lot of people laughing at me for announcing that I'm in a camp when I approach it. If you really want to not announce it, I think there's just stupid people. They would never even understand where to begin. But here we have a camp, and this one's definitely inhabited still. Coming through. I think there's definitely people here for sure. You can see a woman's shoes, mosquitoes swarming everywhere. These camps always seem to have, this is definitely a woman living out here. You can tell, 1, 2, type of clothes that's here. Could be a woman, high phone cover. So this camp is definitely inhabited. There's a cat here somewhere. Lots of women's clothes. Now, what is possible too with all these purses and stuff, it is also possible that the person living here is going to the hotel. So that's why there's a lot of luggage. It's a lot of times, see, there's more than one phone cover. So most likely the person at this camp here is doing car break-ins at the nearby hotels, which have bad reviews for car break-ins. So in the city of Jacksonville, police is very ineffective. You know, when the area starts to have a lot of break-ins and a lot of car break-ins and robberies, the first thing they should do is check the adjacent nearby wooded areas to see if there's anybody living in the woods, but they don't. And as you can see here, there's a phone cover there. There's another phone cover here. Luggage, purses, so looks like really expensive clothes. So most likely the person camping here is doing home break-ins. You know, they're going in and breaking into homes. Most likely than not, what they're really doing, here's another piece of luggage right here. Most likely what they're really doing is that they're doing a lot of car break-ins in nearby parking lots. Now, what's ironic is that there's literally a police station not far from here. And you would think that if this is a site where people are living illegally, camping illegally, there's phone covers on the ground, there's purses on the ground. Clearly this person's doing break-ins, car break-ins, you know. And this is where they're camping out. That the police would say, hey, we've had a lot of break-ins in this particular parking area. Let's check the nearby woods and see if we can find the people that are doing it. It would be easy to catch this person, and the evidence would be right here. But they're very ineffective at targeting these types of criminals, and that's why in the Jacksonville area, you stay at a hotel, and you're scared to leave your stuff in the car. You know, it's like when we're in Jacksonville, we literally take everything out of the car because we know what's most likely to happen. You can tell at some point they had a little bonfire here, and there's definitely people living at the site. They got clothes hanging up everywhere, and if they came up on us at their camp, you could bet they would have a lot of very angry questions. So what we're doing right here is super dangerous, and eventually who knows what could happen to me. But I do think it's important for us to understand exactly what's going on in these camps, why it's happening, because a lot of Americans are ending up in this situation. And you know, the good thing is that the more we go into these camps, the more I learn about them, the more I start to understand what the real problem is and why these situations exist. You can see they have a good collection of butane tanks. A lot of times it's for cooking, but more likely than not, you can see them swarming. You see them just swarming of mosquitoes everywhere. Horrendous. And I don't shave when I come to these camps because I don't want to look too professional. Usually I keep a clean shave all the time, but when I come to these camps, I don't shave at all. One reason for all these gas cans isn't just a simple notion of cooking. It's also that they hold a very consistent flame, and that very consistent flame works very well for, let's say, making meth. So while it's possible they were cooking, it's also possible for a fact that they're using these sites to make meth, which is interesting because it's literally in the parking lot of a police department. see there's a lake here, and many times the reason why you have these homeless camps somewhere is because there's a lake that they can use for water. Now in Florida, you do have snakes, you do have alligators, so grabbing water from the lake, they have to be careful. Many times though, they'll even swim in these lakes, and we've had reports of homeless people in Florida who've been killed by alligators. So this lake right here would be used for bathing water, cleaning water, to have the most vital resource for human life, water. They got their gang graffiti in front of the tent, and inside the tent you can see that most likely it's a female living here for sure, because everything in this camp is kind of female related. But there's also, if you look real carefully, just a layer of slime in there. All this is literally in the parking lot of a police department here in Jacksonville, Florida. So if the police department has homeless camps in the parking lot, what could be said about the remaining areas here in Jacksonville? Well, currently my wife is having dinner or eating something real quick in one of the businesses adjacent to this area. And even though there's a police station here, there's all types of informalities going on in these parking lots. So it seems like even a heavy police presence in this little area does very little to curb the fact that crime is present everywhere. One of the most common things you find out here is drink. They got money for drink. A lot of these homeless camps, I'm gonna say 60 to 80% of them, you find more, alcohol bottles empty than you will water bottles. And that usually indicates that these people are not spending their money on food. When you give it to them, they're spending it on drink. This looks like somebody dumped 5-gallon paint of just dumping paint out here. But if you think about it, what's really inside of here is a stash spot for somebody to hide something. So you can see it's completely empty, and I'm not going to look inside to see what's in it. But one of the most common things you'll find in these homeless camps are stuff like this, where they make it look like garbage, but it's really a good stash spot to keep stuff dry. So it's definitely been a learning curve, a learning process. And I can say that in Florida, even more common than needles, even more common than paraphernalia, is going to be simply bottles and cans. So the drink, while legal, seems to be present in 60 to 80% of these camps at bare minimum, which goes to show that when you give somebody money on the street. So these are the types of beautiful boulevards that are out here in Jacksonville, but hidden behind this beautiful suburban area are the homeless camps we just saw.